Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Solidity podcast. We have a very, very special guest with us today. We have Heather Robeson here with us, brand new Hall of Fame producer. Not shocked by it, but extremely excited and just thankful to have her here with us. Heather, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having us all the way from Texas to Massachusetts. That's crazy.
It is crazy, and it's crazy to think you've been away now for 3 weeks.
Since November 16th, I've been away from Texas. Yep.
November
I've been
16th.
traveling. Yep.
And have you been working since then?
Heck yeah, I can't stop working.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're really going to talk about today, guys, is the fundamental things that you have to do if you really want to make actual changes in your life, right? Things are going to be uncomfortable. Not everything's always going to be a walk in the park, so to say, but you got to get with your goals or kind of get lost. So Heather, just to kind of hit it off, tell folks who haven't heard from you a little bit about yourself, kind of what got you into insurance and kind of why it's really important for you this year, hitting your Hall of Fame for the first time.
Sure. So a little about me. I was a teacher. I owned a daycare for 15 years. I have 6 kids. 3 of them are natural kids, I guess. 3 of them are stepkids. 1 is in the Army. I'm very proud of him. Go, Josh. And then 3 of my kids work with me in our business. So that's pretty important to me. I have worked for myself pretty much always. I did for 3-4 years work for other people, and I just didn't like it. So I started working for myself, doing teaching online, and then door dashing. And then kind of COVID hit, and we also moved across the country from Connecticut to Texas, El Paso, Texas, not even Texas where everybody thinks. Like, everybody thinks Dallas, and it's not. It's 12 hours from there. So really clearly across the country. And I was kind of desperate to figure out what to do. I also was 46 years old when I made that change. And at 46, newly teacher licensed in a state, in a city that I had no idea what it was about. I didn't want to do that. And I certainly didn't want to DoorDash like the rest of my life. That didn't seem right to me. So I had a friend who was in the business. She said, hey, I said, what are you doing? She worked a lot. I was always watching her kids. And she gave me the video. The famous video. Every single one of you have gotten the video. And with that video, that was in February of 21. I watched it. I signed up for the classes and did 1 chapter and then was like, heck no, I don't have time for this. By November, I didn't have a choice. By November, I was moving for sure. I lost my teaching job because they didn't want us American teachers to teach in China. And that's legit stuff. So I didn't have a choice. So then I decided to do those chapters and push through them. Now, this is a little point. You guys don't know this. I've never said this part. But up until that point, I really struggled with reading because my husband died. At that point, it was 7 years. And I couldn't focus on reading. So that's one of the reasons why in February, I was like, I can't do this. I can't focus. So by November, I was like, I'm going to have to focus, just dig in, like you don't have a choice. So I did the test in 5 days, went through the stuff, and I was horrible at tests, horrible. My whole life I've been horrible at tests. Did it in 5 days, passed the test with a 71, and then hope for the best.
I love that. And I think that there's so many different points to that story. But one of the biggest things I heard was, okay, getting started, moving across the country, family, I'm hearing, right, is really important to you. Is that fair to say?
It's the only thing.
Amen. And then also you have 3 of your children in the business with you working together. And how old are those 3 kids?
24 and 15-year-old twins.
24 and 15-year-old twins. When you can get a 24 and 2 15-year-olds involved in a business, they're learning at such a higher level, and that's really exciting alone. But with that, what kind of roles does family kind of play in and out of the business? Because we both know that they kind of correlate. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. Every part of the business, and outside of the business as well. My husband as well. I am newly married 2.5 years. We all work together, and one of the things that happened over the past 3 years I've been doing this is that they had to kind of, I hate the word buy-in because there was no buying in. I had to trust myself that it was going to work and I was going to make it work. And they had to believe me that that was going to happen. If they didn't believe that, there's been times it's rocky. It's not always easy, right? But especially when you're not making money at first, guys, you don't make money at first, right? That's like to get over it. Like you don't. You have to keep working hard to make that money. So when they're not seeing you pull in like an hourly rate, it's hard to convince them that it's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. Because I had to have faith in all of the other people that I saw having it work. Like I am no different than anybody else that could make it work. So my only choice was to do that. And having them believe that was important. Right. Having them come to events. Like my kids and my husband all come to the events. I very rarely, as a matter of fact, I feel naked if I go to an event without my family. Yeah. Right. Like even today, I was like, please, one of you come with me. I didn't beg them. I, in my head, was saying, please, one of you come with me. Right. So my family is very important. My husband does everything outside of the house or in the house, like everything. Cooking dinner, making dog food. He cans now. For God's sakes, my husband does the canning. That's amazing. Right? So, fixing things around the house, making sure the pool's nice so that I can go in during my lunch breaks, right? Just everything. And then Nathan, one of the twins, he does everything client related. So if I have a chargeback, all I have to do is say, why do I have a chargeback? Right. Go find out who and deal with it. Right. And then he'll call the carriers and he's 15 years old and he's talking to carriers. That's incredible. He's like 40 years old and in real people years, but he's 15, but he's like 40. Yeah. In the best way. And he'll call, he'll deal with the clients. Only the clients can be hard to talk with, especially if there's an issue with their payment or whatever. And he's very good at and gaining knowledge every single day on how to do it. Camden, the other twin, he does everything recruiting related. And he also works on the social media side as well with Morgan. But recruiting, he does the first interview. He was doing the second interview and I was doing popping in. And he's like, Mom, I think he was listening to Dom. And he was like, it doesn't make sense for you to come in. At this point, I just need to weed them out for you. And I'm like, okay, but Camden, I need to talk to them at some point. Right. He's like, okay, fine. But so we've developed a system together, right? Yeah, I was going to say about processes. Right. And so he does the interviews. He brings them on board. He gets them into the system that I've had other assistants help or another assistant help or not help. She developed it. Puts them into the system. We have to get better at some things. We're growing, and as you're growing, you're learning what you're doing wrong, right? Yeah. So there's a couple things that over this trip it's written down that we have to figure out, right? This is what we need to do. But as a team, I dread them wanting to leave when they're 18. I dread that, right? And I have a feeling it's happening, but I've got to figure it out before then. And then Morgan, she does all my social media. Every video, she even tells me what to say in my videos. She tells me where to stand, everything, which is good because Marisa, I hate social media. I just don't know how to do it. And it allows Morgan to do something that she's doing already kind of every day and be able to be like, hey, this is how we can adapt into it, though, right? Everybody plays their role. Yes. And that's beautiful. Yes. And, I don't know that that's every single family, right? I don't know that every single family is going to have that much, as you said, kind of buy-in or understanding or backing behind the business, however we want to put that. But at the end of the day, when you bring your family to different events, that's going to help expose them to who is the company. Can we trust that in a month or so things should get better as long as my husband, my wife, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my sister, my brother, my cousin, my mother, my father, as long as they're getting better, can we trust the company and the people that are behind it to think that this is going to work out? And it sounds like you definitely had that faith, absolutely.
And now this year, going into, we're at December the 3rd, talk to us a little bit about what your situation financially looks like versus what it looked like last year.
I would say I can't even compare it. I was okay by the end of last year because I was trying to hit Hall of Fame last year. So I was trying, but I started.
And Heather, sorry to interject.
Yeah.
But for the people out there that are also trying to hit Hall of Fame, and maybe this is their second year in, and maybe they're feeling really discouraged in December because they haven't hit it. Maybe it feels like it's out of sight. Like, what's one piece of advice that you would give to that person?
Go to convention.
Because
I was sad. I was sad that I didn't hit it. I was short. If I remember correctly, it was 369 families, yeah. I think. So I was short and I was sad. I had already invited my mom. I had already invited Morgan. She had to fly in from Virginia, my mom from Vermont. Everybody was coming and I wasn't walking that stage with a red jacket. So I was very disappointed. But I went to convention anyway, right?
And in that process, right, Heather, like in that year, so last year, right, so this is 2023 we're talking about. In 2023, how much would you say you learned so that like 24, 25, like these years are probably going to be a lot easier, would you say, than what you've already experienced at that level?
I can honestly say they're not easier.
You get used to it.
But it's different steps, and you have to take the little steps and set your goals accordingly. I can't tell you what my goals are going to be in 5 years because I have no vision of that. I know what some things I want, but I don't know what my little tiny goals to get to what I want are going to look like. However, if you take those little tiny steps along the way, go to convention, go to anything you can. I mean, Trey will always say I go to everything, and that's because I do, because I learn so much. Every little nugget you learn is going to help you.
Right. Even
and
if
I couldn't read. Yeah, I couldn't read.
You could.
So now where I'm reading these book of the months. Right.
Right.
So you learn so much by every little thing you go to, and convention's a huge one because everybody's there, and you can. I remember my first convention. I remember last year's convention. This year's going to be completely different. I don't even know what it's going to be like. Right. So it's just all amazing. Keep going. Just push. Just go. You have to push through every single little sucky thing that there is, and there's a lot of it. And each suck is going to be different along the way.
Right. You got to embrace the suck, right?
Yeah.
Like, have you done that?
Yeah, I have to.
Right.
Bring it on, because that means I'm sucking for something better.
Exactly. Every day that it feels like that, it's like, hey, something great's going to come out of it, right? You know? And it always does. Now, Heather, talk to us a little bit about maybe like different activity or different ways you tracked your goals, maybe whether it was from last year to this year or kind of, through your process.
So back in 2022, that's when I started to go hard because November, I got my license. By April, I was married. By May, I was like, I got to do something. And I I hope it's okay to say names, but I sat on the phone with Paul McLean. And prior to that, he said, keep track of your dials for 5 weeks. And I was like, okay. So I did. I found a dial tracker. I kept track of my dials. And then he told me exactly what I needed to do. Once he saw those dial trackers, he told me exactly what I needed to do. And I'm like, okay. So I did that. I did what he said. I'm going
to pause you real quick there. Yeah. With the dial tracker, right, it's a way to work the agent's numbers backwards. Is that fair to say?
That's exactly what I do.
Numbers, yep. Right? Okay. So
and I did that because what happened was so fast forward the year. Now it's this year. I didn't hit Hall of Fame last year, and I was like, I need to hit it this year, right? I have to. Like, that would be crazy if I didn't. So I worked the number backwards. Okay, I've got 12 months. I've got 4 weeks, or divide that by the amount of weeks. What is your skill? Remember, your skills improve over time too. So your numbers will change based off of your skill. People forget that. They come out of the gate thinking they're going to be awesome. And they're not. Y'all suck. We all do.
100%. We all started there. Amen.
And even sometimes I still suck.
Yep.
Right? Like I shouldn't have said that. Right? But if you have a general 5 weeks to start is what he'd had me do of what you are doing at that moment. And then you adjust those goals over, the year, start with the year, then back it down month by month, then week by week, and then day by day, right? And so your goals should be right on the top of your paper, and you can adjust them. And I have from November 16th until December 9th when I get home, my goals are adjusted to be able to be with my family and to do things, still make money, right? And then December 9th, my goals are going to increase because now I want that momentum going into 2025.
Absolutely. Right. So you're playing essentially, it's all it's all activity-oriented goals. When it's activity-oriented goals, we know exactly what we're going after. So
it is.
What are some of those things that you do? Because everyone's goals are going to be a bit different, but tracking certain things are so important.
I track 7 things. It used to be 6. I added a 7th because now I'm building.
This is so important. So I'm so excited to hear this.
I track my dials. So how many dials and what does a dial mean? And this is going to be long, guys. So just pay attention here. Get out your pen and paper.
Yeah, this is important. This is like the
really
the nitty-gritty right here.
So my dials. Now your dials, some of your people are going to say dial 500 dials, dial 300 dials, dial, whatever. The purpose of a dial, and it's not always hitting that call button. In this day and age, honestly, a text is a dial. Okay? So you're going to be like, Heather, be careful with what you say to these people because don't forget, don't get lazy because then you're getting lazy on yourself.
Yes.
So don't get lazy. So on my dial tracker, I track my appointments at the top and I track my dials at the bottom. Okay. Now I have fluctuating dials. It depends on how many hours I want to work that week. So right now while I'm traveling, my dials are set at 200 dials. 100 if I'm only working half a day. Okay. It's very hard to hit that many dials when you have appointments. So you've got to put in the appointments, right? So you also track your appointments. What should my appointments be? It's going to depend. Talk to your upline. Call me for God's sakes. I don't care. I'll help you set up your goals. But my appointments when I was doing 12, 14 hours a day to get to where I wanted to be was 25 appointments a day.
25 appointments.
That was a goal. Okay. Now, right now, just during these 3 weeks, I'm at 5.
Right.
5.
Dialing it back.
1 week, last week, I think, during Thanksgiving week, I was at 10. And the reason is because I know my numbers. I know what I'm doing as far as my numbers go. So we've got appointments. Then I do one called Toxin Sits. So anybody who responds to my CRM and says, hey, blah, 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 or shut the F up, or whatever they might say, right?
Or I want to talk tomorrow at 2.
Exactly. Well, no, not yet. That's that's an appointment. But yes, it's a talk, right? So it's a certain color. It's blue, because that's an appointment. And then, so that's the Toxin Sits. So typically I like more Toxin Sits than appointments. So that's around 15, 25, that type of thing. And if it's more than 25 appointments, I do about 40 Toxin Sits, 50.
Right.
So it's a lot of color. There's a lot going on when I'm working that many hours. So that's Toxin Sits. Then I also track how many agents I've put into the system. So how many agents I've hired, right? Whether they're in pre-licensing or contracting, which, by the way, my goals will change for next year because I want to focus a little bit more. I can't stop writing and I won't stop writing, but I want to add to that. So those are I'm working on adapting my goals for next year. So agents, at first it was just 1.
Right.
But this month and next month or November and December, it's now 2. It's probably going to get up to 5, I can imagine. Because I'm kind of getting my numbers up there. And so when you start seeing your numbers, you're matching them or you're exceeding all of them, you've got to adapt your goals.
Right. It gets exciting.
Right.
Now this is too easy.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So then there's agents. Also, I also added in there.
And Heather, really quick, just to kind of piggyback off that, right? Because we can always do better, right? And that's almost kind of a great thing to kind of see. And also it can be the opposite depending on how you treat it, right? If you beat yourself up or if you pull yourself up, right? You have a choice. We all have a choice every single day, right? But with that being said, talk to us a little bit about why you felt like your activity had to change and what pushed you to change it. What pushed you to change anything from 23 to 24? Like what said
I had to hit Hall of Fame.
you were like, it's not.
There
gonna
wasn't
not
a
happen.
choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just.
I had to do something.
It became a non-negotiable.
So I had to work more.
That's right. And you're like, so how can I bring up these goals, right? And guys, they're all activity-based,
It's numbers.
Right? It's
That's all it
play.
is. It's numbers.
Yes.
You're going to get better over time. And I tell my new agents this all the time. Your numbers right now are going to change. Your goals right now are going to change when you increase your activity, because you're going to get better at what you do. You're going to perfect your craft. And once you do that, you're going to adjust your numbers.
Yeah.
Right. And I have two more things that are pretty important. One is I track time. So if I'm working on my schedule, and this is important for people too, you've got to make a schedule and you got to stick to it.
Please.
And if you stick to it, you should be proud of yourself. If you didn't have a dang sale that day, that's sucky, because you wish you did. You need the money, but you have to remember that activity during that time frame, it will pay you back later on. You just have to understand that if you don't put that activity in, you're not going to get paid.
Yep. And Heather, is it fair to say, like, here, you can have a bad day, you can have a bad week, but it's really hard to have a bad month when you continue to keep working?
I had this is my record, 59 appointments with no sales.
I actually remember that was this year, too.
It was this year.
Killing it.
It was horrible. But it wasn't horrible. I was a little disappointed, but because I tracked my stuff, my activity was there. I was getting greens every day. I just wasn't getting the appointment one, because I don't have to hit all 7 of them.
Right.
I have to hit 4 out of 7.
Every day.
Every day.
Yep.
Or on the days that I had 6, because there was a time at the beginning of the year I only had 6 goals, I had to hit 3 out of 6. So I had to be okay with, and this is because people are perfectionists. That's what we do. And maybe it's just a middle-aged woman thing. I don't know. But I need to feel good about myself. And if I'm not hitting my 6 goals, I'll feel sad.
Right. Or if you don't follow your schedule.
And they're high goals, so you're not going to hit all 6 of them. Mm-hmm. That would be pretty ridiculous if you did. Then up your goals. Right. If you're hitting all 6 of them, then make higher goals.
Right. And we're only going for 4 out of 6. Yeah, exactly. So challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Because we can sometimes stay complacent, right? Because some people would say, like, okay, well, you know what? I'm writing 30,000. I'm helping 30 families a month. I'm good with that. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm not going to up my. And that's kind of a big robber, so to say, of things in this.
Of your potential. Of your potential.
Amen.
Because everybody has the potential to do this. I am not in any way smarter than anybody else, or anything better than anybody else.
But you worked harder than some.
I'm just better than I used to be myself. That's for sure.
Right.
For myself.
You're competing with Heather.
Right.
And when you compete with yourself, it's a game changer. When you stop comparing yourself to this one, that one, but you can say, what did I do last year and what am I going to do this year different to make a better version of myself?
Right.
That's a beautiful thing.
Right.
And that's what I see in you all the time. And that's what I see you pushing people to do. Follow your schedule, not for me. Follow your schedule.
Exactly.
You're going to feel good about yourself, and you're going to feel good about what you're doing to help people. You're going to see actual results come out. Maybe that sale doesn't yield that day. Maybe it doesn't yield that week.
Exactly.
But it will yield as long as you keep your foot on the gas with the activity and getting onto the virtual office, right? Getting uncomfortable,
Absolutely.
unmuting yourself. We love you. But and how important has that been for some of your agents getting started, being able to hear them,
So the virtual office, this is so important for everybody to hear, because I did not have that. We didn't have all that stuff when I first started. And I was gung-ho that I was going to be telesales. Nobody could tell. You guys could not tell me different. I was like, heck no, I am not going into creepy people's house in El Paso. Just kidding, El Paso. We love you. But I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the neighborhoods. That's why I didn't even want to DoorDash. That was part of the reason. 'Cause I did not know the area. It's a big city. And I'm from little old Lisbon, Connecticut, right? So having the virtual office, I had joined a couple. As a matter of fact, I know I had joined Sheila Days for a couple times, but I just wasn't into it yet. I wasn't ready. I don't know. So then I was working. I don't even how did I do it? I don't even remember.
You were pretty solo.
I guess I was.
And then
I guess I was. And then I think we joined Stephen E's group. That's what we did. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And it was right. And I could be who I was because I started my office and, it was just a nice environment. That's what it was. People were there. I got to talk to people. I got to hear people. I would unmute when I had somebody on on the phone. Now for agents to have a place to go where they're not having to experience the loneliness of being dialing alone, I know it increases their work, right? It increases our work because we have accountability. Right. There's people there. If my camera's off, I'm not there. And I'll tell my agents that if your camera's off, you're not working. Right. I don't care. You can choose not to work, but I'm not going to help you if you're not there. Yep. I'm not, because I don't have time for that.
Because you have agents on there that you could be helping.
That's right.
That need the help and that are showing up and doing what you
Absolutely.
ask.
And it's not that I don't like you or anything like that. It's just that you have to be accountable for yourself. And if you can't get uncomfortable and unmute yourself, if you can't get uncomfortable and actually be on the dial team, that's all you. And I will pray for you because that's what I do, that you succeed. I don't want anybody not to succeed. Right. But I can tell you you'll succeed faster if you follow the system. Follow the tools that I give you. I'm just handing them to you. I had to build them over time, but I'm handing them to you. Right. Here they are. And you can make money faster. Yeah. More money.
And Heather, is it fair to say, right, like you kind of made those like 6 quadrants, we'll call them, right? Mm-hmm. But you picked them up from different people. And you're like, these 6 are important. And it's all through different listening and learning. It's like, Heather, you still listen and learn. You don't feel like, you're not like, I know everything.
I listen and learn every day. I still do 30 minutes of training or so a day. I listen in the gym. I listen in the shower. I listen in the car. I listen while I'm canning, while I'm, hanging out in the pool.
And guys, these are the things that separate like being good from being great. It's like you can be great just by listening to a podcast 30 minutes. You ever find yourself in the middle of the day, Heather, you're like actually using a one-liner from the podcast and you're like, oh, that just worked.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the time, right? Yeah, me too. And it's like, guys, like that stuff still works. I've been in the industry since late 2015. It's like that works. That's what helps you attach all your thoughts to make sure it becomes a actual skill set, not just like, oh, this is what I'm thinking today, right? It cements it into your brain. So that's huge.
So I have, YouTube, and maybe this is my tech savvy people already know this, but YouTube will send notifications on your phone when a new thing comes out.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right. Like on what's you're subscribed to.
So when it's time for me to do something, like if I'm, making coffee in the morning or whatever, I'll just scroll through and see which ones are new and I'll click on it and it just pops up my training.
Right.
And then if it's like a long one and I don't have time for that, I just have to press the little save button. I sound like an idiot, but that's new. That's exciting to me.
No, and it's like it's one way that guys, everyone out there can replicate that. It's like we all have YouTube. I don't know who you follow, who you don't, who you're subscribed to.
But I tell you who to follow. Like all my agents know who to follow, and then that's so easy.
Just follow the company.
Yeah.
There we go. And you'll be good. No matter who it is. As long as they're doing well here, follow them, listen to them, hear them out. Kind of different pieces from different places. That's what I always like to say.
And different styles too. I'll tell you, Paul and Mark Mead, they are my go-to on because I schedule my day. So I have one day I do like business and podcast and learning, and then anything business related that I need to take care of in the morning. And then the next day I call it my religious day. So I do any faith days, anything I need to do with faith. I write in my journals those days. Anything faith home related, like even bills. If I have to pay bills after all that, then I'll do that. But Paul and Mark Mead, those are on my religious days. Stephen Giordano and Trey, all those are there, and Sean, they're all on my business days because they're the finance people, and I need a lot of finance knowledge, like a lot.
Always still learning. But that's a big thing. It's like no matter what goals we hit in this industry, being able to continue to ongo and learn different things is a huge thing. You got to make a habit, right? So it sounds like you definitely made that a habit over the years.
Yeah, vacation has really killed it though, so I got to get back into the habit. I'm not gonna lie.
Absolutely. And here's one thing I do want to hit on though, because it's about to be Christmas time, right? Which is exciting. Talk to us a little bit about the trips that you've been on, this past month, and kind of what that's looked like for you and your family, because it's looked beautiful.
It's been amazing. Actually, it was my goal since the beginning of the year. Actually, it was last November, I believe. The first thing that happened was I didn't hit Hall of Fame. So my drive was there. I had to hit it. But then I didn't want to just skin by because that was horrible. Living until December 31st, not knowing if I hit it was like gut wrenching. And I didn't want to go through the holidays again like that. So I set my goal October 31st of this year. I had to work towards that. And I did not hit it. But I was only a week late. And then that next week, I blew by that like it was nothing. What happened was in November of last year, Hallmark put out a cruise. And I was financially not in a spot where I knew I could pay for it. And that cruise, I wanted to take my daughter, my mom, and my best friend from Connecticut. She now lives in South Carolina. Girls trip. And I wanted to pay for everything. I didn't want, they're not in a best financial position because they're not doing life insurance. But I wanted to pay for all of them. And what happened was we got on it. We got on the second sailing. So the first one sold out. They actually opened a second one and we got on it. We had a crappy little room. We didn't have a choice. It was like bam, bam. And you had a booking time. It was incredibly stressful, but we got on it. So that was November. Now I had to make sure I could pay for the flights. I had to make sure I could pay for everything. So now I didn't have a choice but to make Hall of Fame so that I knew financially I'd be okay. Right? So made my goals. Went to convention, cemented that this is what the goal was, this is what I'm doing, and then did it. And then, even before I left for the cruise, I had hit Hall of Fame. So I was really excited. So because we were on the cruise and I was all the way on the East Coast, well, maybe we should take a trip up the East Coast for the holidays because we have that kind of job. We can do that. Right. I live out of a backpack. Because my computer's in there, my sales tracker, no, that's on the computer, but dial tracker, my client sheets, everything's in there. My highlighters. Of course, you can always buy those where you go, but whatever. I brought them with me.
Right. You have your to-go bag. You can get up. You can go.
Right? I'll open it up in an airport. I'll open it up in the airplane. I'll do it I feel like a Dr. Seuss book.
On a train, on a plane, in a car, right? Yes. But really, it's
on a boat.
You're on a boat. There we go. So you decided you were going to take a trip up the East Coast.
Yes. So we we all met in Virginia. We actually got to go hunting, which I love. I didn't shoot anything, but my son did, and my husband shot his first deer, so that was nice. And then we got to hang out with family there. We went to my daughter's house for Thanksgiving. Yes, I know Sean hates Black Friday, but we do it as a tradition, and we had so much fun, Morgan and I. So I worked in the afternoon after Black Friday shopping, but it's on my schedule. Right. And my family knows, like, these are the hours I'm working. This is what I'm doing. Okay, and they work around me because it's not an inconvenience because they see what it's done, right? So we, did our our Thanksgiving stuff and our Christmas stuff. And what was great about that was so good. Because when I did my numbers for that week, I was like really happy that I'm at the point this year comparatively to last year where I'm now capable of doing not 14-hour days and I don't want to pat myself on the back, but the word is still kill it.
Right.
Like you still can make so much money and help so many families on your schedule.
Right.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. That was a very big relief last week when I did the numbers. I was like, holy mackerel, I can still submit. Now, my submit numbers a month ago, I wanted to do 25. And now my goal was 10 a week. Right. Yeah. So I was scared of that. I was like, that's a big jump back. But when I submitted 12, I was like, hey, I hit my goal.
Right.
I passed my goal.
Right.
So that was exciting. And then so after that, we went from Virginia to Connecticut. We got to see some friends we hadn't seen in 3 years, hang out with them for a day, not even a few hours, and just not worry. Like not worry about the cost of the rental car or, I even get to upgrade a little bit. I don't like to spend too much of my money, but like a nice house with an office.
Right. Yeah.
So that's nice. That's nice. And then made it up to here in Boston. We're visiting my stepdaughters, my husband's girls. They're out hanging out, climbing rocks or something right now. And then we're heading up to where I lived. I grew up in Vermont. That's our final stop. And then we'll fly back and I'll be home the 8th and then on the dial team 12 to 14 hours again.
So that's amazing because it's like you got to spend time with your family. You got to go on a trip you wanted to go on with your girls, with your girls and your girlfriends, so to say. You got to travel with the family and you got to be with your family throughout the holidays. And the cool part about, I think, all of this is too, it's like you got to do things on your terms, right? Like nobody sat you down and said, Heather, this is the way it's going to work. Mm-hmm. You sat down and said, this is the way it's going to work because I set myself up to win. When we set ourselves up to win the game, we win the game and then we go. Like you said, I knew I hit Hall of Fame before leaving for the cruise. That was a huge relief, right?
It was huge.
Whereas if you didn't know, you might have been like, kind of throughout the cruise. It's like we all knew you hit it. We just need the numbers to post, right? But just having that relief and that feeling is huge. Another big thing you hit on is like that knowing of being able to be at a friend's house and just not have to worry like financially, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no stress like financial stress. And when you're able to
there's a little stress. There's still some.
Well, there definitely is. It doesn't fix everything. That is for sure. It definitely doesn't fix everything.
Because you question, like, okay, I got to go to work. I got to make more.
Right. You always, but it should leave you wanting more. And I think
it does leave you wanting more.
That's kind of a big part of it too. It's like, if you did this for 1 year and you're like, oh, I made some money. It's like, that's congratulations. But like, you're probably going to be broke the following year. All due respect. That's just my personal perception. At the same time, what I've seen you do, Heather, is be able to collapse time frames because your skill is getting better and better and better. So for you guys out there that are maybe new or in your first year or 2 years, it's not always going to feel as bad as it does today. I can tell you that right now. After you hit that 24-month mark, as long as you've been moving, working, grinding, you're going to be able to move and sway just like Heather is. You're going to be able to go on different trips, do different things with your family. You're going to be able to do those things, but you just have to stick to the plan. So.
I kind of want to point something out too, because when I did go on the cruise, although I bought the internet thing, it was crazy. Like there was a little time to actually work. And I did find a little spot to work in like one day, but it was too crazy to work. So what happened was, and this is kind of where I said the financial thing is, it made me hugely realize that you got to do something because someday you're not going to want to work or you're not going to want to work as much. And it was pretty huge because now your money doesn't just come in. It's nice to say that the carriers pay you right off, and they do. That's nice. But not all of your policies get paid that next day. Not all of your policies get all in at once. Sometimes the payment doesn't go through. All that stuff happens. So it's an accumulation, and perfect for the winter. I always talk about the snowball effect. That's exactly what is it. It's a snowball. Don't stop rolling it. The cruise, I stopped rolling it. And what happened was that snowball kind of
got heavy.
It just stayed the same size. Yeah. And so like our finances, I was like, oh shoot, like I'm glad that I planned it this way because now I've got to work some more, during the holidays, which I knew I would. I knew I'd work. I had my schedule all planned out, so that wasn't an issue. But it was that initial fear of like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay because I'm going to be working again.
Right.
So that's important. If you take time off, if you think it's not working, if you think that you need to go find another job, and then do this on the side. I mean, maybe that works for some people, but you're also taking that time to do that other job instead of just working this job. Now, that job might pay you at the end of the week, but if you can just have some patience and is the word fortitude maybe, to push through, and faith is huge. Oh, yeah. And then your family to understand. If you have all that, you'll be okay. You will be okay. Like there's no reason why you wouldn't.
Absolutely. That's like the recipe for success. I love that. And then Heather, just to kind of wrap up.
The cookie recipe.
That was the quickie recipe.
Cookie.
The cookie recipe. I like that. There you go.
I'm so dumb.
And Heather, just to kind of wrap up, talk to us a little bit about maybe anything else that you feel like has been really pivotal for you or for your team this year. And then to fully wrap up your goals going into 2025, because I'm really excited to hear those as well.
Pivotal this year is not giving up. Absolutely don't give up. I've said it before, but just don't give up on yourself and believe. You have to have faith, whatever your faith may be, but our faith in this, I don't want to say the system, but it is a system. There's numbers. You just have to hit them. You have to push yourself. Absolutely. We definitely push ourselves. Everyone in my office, my sons, my husband, we push because we see the results. We absolutely see the results. Goals for next year, they're already started. That snowball's already being pushed, right? We are hiring a lot. We're learning a lot as we're bringing agents on. So yeah, I knew nothing about other companies. I'm learning a lot about other companies. I'm learning about people. Again, I still think you have to have faith in yourself and faith in the system. And you have to push. It's all the same. You just have to do all that. So my goals for next year are very simple. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing as far as personal production. Now, I originally wanted to do 1 million personal, but some people have said, Heather, do you really want to do that? And I was like, yeah, I'm really happy with where I am on personal production.
Let's get that team pushing, yes. Right? Because you got some people going in the best direction.
Yes. So what
right now.
My goal is by September, I want September, October, November, and December to be 1 million a month for our team. That's what I want. And right now, this month in November, we hit 100,000 again, which we were low for a couple of months. So that made me really, really happy. That was exciting. That means the people who we're bringing on are learning, they're working, and they're going to be where I am, where I was last year, next year. That excites me.
100%. And they're making money, right? Like that's most
right.
exciting. It's not exciting when I make money anymore, but it's exciting when the brand agent makes money.
It's so excited. Even if out of the few, maybe 10 people I have writing right now, if 5 of them are in their first full year over 100,000, like what would that do for their family?
A lot.
Holy mackerel. I cannot wait to see that.
No doubt. I can't wait either. And I know there's going to be way more than 5 in your organization that have helped over 100 families in 2025. So I'm really excited for you as an individual. I'm more excited for you and your team, to be honest, because you have an amazing team and you're growing alongside them. You're committed to working with your agents and helping them in real time, which I think is really important. So guys, if you're looking into this industry, you're like, I don't know who to get started with. I don't even know if I should get started here. Reach out to Heather directly. Heather, what's your Instagram handle?
FFL Just Serve.
At FFL Just Serve. So reach out to Heather there if you want to get started working with her. This woman is about her business, hitting her goals, and always making it happen. So Heather, it was truly a pleasure having you on with us today. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Take care.